We will now call to order the the Muskogee City Council agenda for May 22nd, 2023. We already had the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation at the prior meeting, so we will go directly to roll call.
Perlin Boyati Craig.
Here.
Shirley Hilton Flannery. Tracy Hoos.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Stephanie Jones.
Here.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here, we will now entertain a motion to excuse Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
We need to do Alex.
We need to do all of
I'm gonna do him. Do we do them together or
them. We
separate?
can do them together.
Let's amend that motion to excuse Shirley Hilton Flannery and Alex Reynolds.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Perlin Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. That passes. We have the approval of the minutes for the regular City Council April 24, 2023, and special call City Council April 25th, 2023. I hope that we've had an opportunity to review those minutes. Do we have any corrections or motion to approve?
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second on the said minutes. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Perlin Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, that passes. Ms. Bodenhammer?
Yes, sir. Alex Reynolds had agenda items 25, 26, and 27 on the agenda tonight. He is unable to attend, so out of courtesy to Councilman Reynolds, we'd like to withdraw agenda items 25, 26, and 27 so that he may present them at a later date.
And let me also say that was at his request,
Yes, sir, it was.
that those items may be stricken. He will present them at a later date. We will now consider the rest of the consent agenda. Do we have any other items that need to be removed, or do we have a motion to proceed?
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and approval on the consent agenda. Further discussion. Roll call.
Perlin Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item passes to, on the consent agenda, item number 18.
Hold a public hearing to discuss the City of Muskogee budget for fiscal year 2023-2024 and take other necessary
We will
action.
now open the public hearing. Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of council. This is the end of a long road, and I want to thank staff and council for hours upon hours upon hours of work that's gone into this, getting our budget prepared and ready, and input from the council year-round, and then intense input the last 6 weeks or so to get you to where we are today. You have a budget that we have presented 2 weeks ago and received no requests from council for changes to that. That being said, I will go through it relatively quickly since it's the same budget that you saw 2 weeks ago, but we will go through it relatively quickly and then have it before you for approval. You can see there, as we try and keep our expenditures, the red line, below the blue line. You'll also see that those numbers have gone up this year due to increased economic activity in our area. Those are good things. Here's some of the budget overview. You'll see this on page 5 of your large council packet. This, combined with our economic development money, puts us over $100 million in our budget for the first time. Here's what else is in the budget on strategic initiatives. We've got more money than ever for drainage projects, increased funding for water quality and water line replacements, facilities maintenance and capital budgets both increased dramatically. The largest ever economic development budget, worth more money than ever for incentives. More than $1 million in housing incentives available, funding for tourism, public safety priorities addressed, and major new quality of life projects for younger citizens. Our budget is shaped by those strategic initiatives that were adopted by the council. They're detailed on page 12 of your budget book. Council asked for a breakout of employees. There are 436 full-time employees. The vast majority of them work in police, fire, and public works, doing the things that our citizens expect them to do to provide us a safe environment for our families. Overall, including other trusts that we will consider later today, our revenues and expenditures nearly top $150 million. And so we're excited about the impact that we're making on our community. The principles that went into putting this budget together, we've talked about several times before, but we want to keep our expenses less than revenue, be conservative on our projections so that we budget for good surprises, fund our strategic initiatives first if we have an extra dollar. And so here's what that looks like for the general fund. This is where we do most of the business of the city. Here are, we have to make assumptions on revenue and on expenses as we put the budget together. So those are on pages 20 through 22. It includes some use of reserves, as you see there, and conservative projections on revenue. As we get to the projections of expenses, we did have some increased costs as well for inflation, utility costs, as everyone knows, and credit card fees have gone up this past year. So the budget highlights within the general fund include the foundation programs that we did not ask for funding for this year. Those are detailed there, as well as several other initiatives that we're proud of that are listed. Here is a representation visually of the total expenditures of the general fund budget. And again, you'll see that between police, fire, public works, and engineering, which is basically our water and sewer part of public works, we're well over 60% of the budget in those major areas that we deal with to help provide services to the cities. And that's on page 23 through 25. There are other organizations that we help. Here's a brief list of transfers that we make out of our general fund, including that $1.5 million for economic development. We'll talk more about that. Again, it's funded, the funding is by strategic initiative. In this budget, there's funds available for raises, and there's conservative expense management to get us to where we are. Page 24 of your book is kind of a breakout of how much of the general fund expenses are for personnel versus operational expenses. And again, you'll see that it's a pretty healthy chunk going to our personnel, but that's because that's the service that we provide a lot of times, is that police officer, that firefighter out there keeping us safe. So moving on to some of our other budgets that are important, other funds that we're asking the council to consider tonight. We have a Civic Center budget of $350,000 of transfer. It's over $800,000 budget. It includes capital funding for new external signage and internal digital signage, so we're excited about that. Hatbox Arena has a slight decrease from tourism, but that's on page 32 through 36, their operational budget. They've agreed that they will not make any request to the Tourism Authority. I know they're well represented here today in the coming year, so they're going to try and stay within, live within their means in that way. Love Hatbox Sports has a 25% increase of city subsidy. That's to possibly look at increased maintenance or possible outsourcing in the coming months after the summer season's over. Pages 68 through 71 has the capital improvements budget that voted on in 2019. It details several of those projects that are ongoing. Street improvements from 2019, we're going to spend more than $13 million in the coming fiscal year, probably the largest amount we've ever spent in any one single year. We've already got northwest and north-southwest zones bid out. We're going to have the southeast zone bid out shortly. And we've gone through these project lists before. On page 75, we're looking at the America Rescue Plan funds. We have two grants that we've received, one highly competitive one with a match from the foundation, for which we're grateful, for water quality and treatment. The other is a $6.5 million set aside, and we do have some projects coming up in the next year. Council has asked us to allocate some funding for these two projects in the fiscal year, the John T. Griffin Water and Sewer Line, for economic development in that area, as well as a splash pad for Langston Park, which will be a new feature. Public safety initiatives are primarily funded or largely funded out of a dedicated sales tax. That's on page 82 through 85, and you can see the ideas that fire is looking at, and here police, their priorities that they have asked for this year. Economic development, it is the largest budget that the council has put forward for economic development. And it's divided, as by statute, for 60-40 operations and opportunity account. The operations account is primarily funded, looks like in this way, broken out this way. And the $600,000 in the opportunity account, about half will go to current projects and about half is allocated for new projects as they come in, and the council must vote before any dollars can be spent out of that opportunity account. Tourism, these are our tourism partners and their rough allocations in the budget this year, including, it says a flat budget, but a slight increase for the Tourism Authority. New budget this year on page 129 in your books is an opioid settlement fund. The council is aware of that. You voted to receive and to settle some lawsuits. That money will be spent according to the details of that settlement. Capital outlay is one of our big budgets every year, having to prioritize what to fix. And so the facility maintenance increase is significant there. That's on page 150 through 155. We're also going to look at a parking lot at Rotary Park that we've not had before. The big new thing that we're looking at is a new esports facility. We've set aside $200,000 in the budget for that. And as we move beyond that, we'll look into the Spalding Park budget. On page 160, we're going to add new pickleball courts, another quality of life amenity and one of the fastest growing sports in the country. Our special projects fund, no new money allocated, but we do have money available for these ongoing projects. And our drainage is our largest budget ever. That's detailed on pages 173 through 178 in your budget. Those are some of the projects that we're doing. And here are others, including some smaller ones that are in progress and will probably continue into the next year. But again, that's our largest drainage budget, knowing that it's a high priority of the council. MMA is our Muskogee Municipal Authority. Here are some details. We will have a specific meeting later on. But this is how we're looking to spend some of that money that's set aside specifically for capital projects to make our water and sewer utilities function better. Some quick details on more strategic initiatives, including water quality. We got more than $17 million in progress for projects to improve water quality. Our strategic initiative to improve our maintenance and structural integrity in buildings. We've increased 2 budgets, and we're maxing out our CIP spending on facilities as well in this proposed budget. We've talked about roads, street, highway infrastructure. Again, that's part of a citizen sales tax and a match from the City of Muskogee Foundation, as well as the dedicated sales tax. So those are all citizen-approved funds that we are using specifically for those. And again, those are the projects we've talked about some before. Public image, you see that list of funded projects for this fiscal year, as well as some details, again, the economic development budget. We didn't talk much, but we do have Main Street grants of $500,000, and our housing incentives and opportunity account, as well as the ongoing projects at the urban renewal area and U.S. Highway 69 in Shawnee. We've talked about our family and quality of life initiatives. Those are ways that we can give back to our community. Our housing incentives we've talked about as well. And we do have money set aside this year for some things to assist our employees, including money for raises that we won't be able to talk about in executive session, as well as making sure that we're paying 100% of the premium for the health care insurance of every city employee. So to sum up, to wrap up, we have more money than ever for drainage projects in this budget. We have increased funding for water quality and water line replacements. Facility maintenance and capital budgets are both up because we know that's a priority. We've talked about the largest economic development budget in history and the housing incentives. Working with our tourism partners and public safety, addressing those priorities as best we can. And we do have the new funding for quality of life and family fun. So I sped through that a lot, and the reason we were able to speed through it now is because of all the hours the council has spent in the last several months going over this project. So this is the public hearing. I'll be happy to answer any questions about this particular item. There's no vote at this time. The next item would be a vote to consider approval, but I'd be happy to answer questions about the budget details as proposed.
We have one citizen signed up to speak during the public hearing on tonight, Mr. Mark Bonney. I'm going to ask if you come to the microphone, give us your name and your address. You'll have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mark Bonney, 1216 West Broadway Street, Muskogee, Oklahoma. I've been here in the past, and I've said some of these things before. I've said some of them to people still serving on this council. In order for our budgets to work long-term, we have to quit giving away our wealth. So, for example, if it ever comes up in the future that we're going to sell something like the hospital. Rather than sell, in my opinion, we should have built the tower and leased it to St. Francis. That's a way to gain wealth as a community. You can't have a solid budget year after year after year if we keep giving away our wealth. And I'll come back to that at the end of my at the end of the meeting tonight. I think, and I don't know, but I think we ought to have a 5-year budget plan, at least a general outline. What are our 5-year goals? Yeah, we can do a great job. And I want to commend Mr. Miller on this budget. I mean, I've seen a few of these, and this is probably one of the best thought of, put together, easiest to read presentations that I've seen in terms of budget. So I do want to congratulate him on that. We also have to manage risk. This city council and many of you city councilors did a horrible job managing the lawsuit risks that resulted in this concealed global settlement. And you know what I'm talking about. You did a horrible job. I talked to Roy Tucker over 4 years ago, 6 years ago, and I said, you need to settle that lawsuit. It is going to come back to bite you. It is going to cost more. Early intervention in lawsuit mitigation manages risk for this city. And if you're not a lawyer, which I don't think anybody on the council currently is, you probably don't have the same insight to managing litigation risks that I do. I'm not saying I'm an expert. I told Betty Williams the same thing. Settle that lawsuit. It didn't happen, and you all know how much it costs. Don't let that happen again. You can't manage a $140 million budget and have a $5 million hole because you didn't manage a lawsuit. Yes, I'm angry about that. I've talked about this a number of times before. Fee for service, water, sewer, trash, the revenue has to be at least equal to the expenses for providing those services. And when the city goes to, hopefully, I'll talk about this later, dig up and fix the water leak that's been down the street in front of my property for 3 years, leaking, when they go to fix that, the water department ought to pay to fix the street, not the Public Works Street Department. Shouldn't come out of the street budget. It should come out of the water department. The water department had to dig up the street to fix it. So the revenue from the sale of water and sewer should be the department, the place, the cost center for those of you that have, and I know Mr. Miller understands cost accounting. He knows what I'm talking about. That's where it should, proper cost accounting means that your revenue centers and your expense centers match. And that's what you need to do. And I'm not saying it's not happening, because I don't know now. I do know when I was more involved years ago, it wasn't happening. I hope it's happening now, and I hope you all will investigate that to make sure. And I'm done early. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Bonney. That was the only citizen having signed up to speak to this item on tonight. Do we have any questions from the council? I'm sorry, we will now close the public hearing. Do we have any questions from the council?
Mr. Mayor, I did have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I know we're trying to pass this bond, and bond is for facilities, and I know that we got quite a bit of money in the facility in the budget. How would that offset?
So it's a good question. I don't want to speculate on whether or not we're going to have, I would think we may have an election and we may be asking for facilities. And so what we're looking at, to Mr. Bonney's point, is a short-term, what are we going to do this year? And so the bond program would be a, what are we going to do the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years is what the council's asked us to put together. So there's a difference. We've got some urgent needs that we're budgeting to fix in this calendar year or this fiscal year budget that's proposed. So I would say I would not suggest that we cut the amount we're spending out of our general fund and out of our capital budgets for facilities, because if this bond package passes, I think it needs to be kind of a both and to try and meet the needs that we're delinquent on, quite frankly, if you look at our city facilities.
Thank you.
Other comments before we move to the item where we actually take an action? Item number 19.
Consider approval of resolution number 2940, approving the City of Muskogee budget for fiscal year 2023-2024, establishing budget amendment authority, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of council, what you have before you is the document that is required that we need to send to the state, certifying that we have approved a budget for the following fiscal year. Basically, it is the summary of what we've talked about in the previous item, and we do recommend approval and happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Miller? What is the pleasure of the body?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 19. Let me say to those that had asked earlier, there is a section in there, I believe it's section number 2, that we will take up procedurally as a part of our budgeting policy going forward at the first Finance Committee meeting in June. But we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Hurley and Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 20.
Consider approval of resolution number 2939, authorizing the continuation of the account fund for the City of Muskogee entitled Solid Waste Improvements, and designating the manner in which said account shall be operated for the upcoming fiscal year 2023-2024, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Rigney.
Yes, thank you. So this is approved yearly by the council, and it's just a general housekeeping item. What this does is it takes $2.50 off of the sanitation billing and puts that back, and that usually, or is estimated to bring in $368,000, which we use to purchase carts, dumpsters, trucks, and operate the recycle center, and staff does recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Rigney. Do we have any questions from this body?
Can you explain that program one more time, would you please?
This resolution just takes $2.50 off of the sanitation billing and brings that money back to the, I believe it's the 212 account, and that is the sanitation equipment and equipment fund, which also has the recycle center in it. And that money is used to purchase carts, dumpsters, trucks, and run the recycle center.
Thank you.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is everyone clear on what they're voting on?
Yes, but Mr. Mayor, can I be recognized?
Yes.
Now, this $2.30, is that reflected on what bill? Is it on,
So it is not separated out on the bill. It's part of what you pay for your solid waste services. And what this does is before the money goes in the general fund, it goes specifically to the solid waste fund so we can continue that operation. Sort of like what Mr. Bonnie was talking about. We want to make sure that we're
is it
charging for a
reflected on the
service.
water bill? Where's it reflected at?
It's in the total dollar amount. It's not set aside. That's why we have this ordinance to pull. The council sets it aside. But when you pay for solid waste services on your bill,
On the water bill? I'm
on
asking
the
what
utility
bill?
we have it.
Utility bill? Okay.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
That's what I'm asking. Okay, what bill you talking about? Utility bill, okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
And to clarify, Ms. McGee, it was $2.50.
$2.50, thank you, sir. I got
We
you.
clear, or do y'all need another week?
No, I'm clear. I just wanted to make sure because on the water bill, it's been asked that that be broken down so we can see what goes where. That's why I'm being specific when I say that.
Yeah.
But
'cause
I'm clear though.
No, I asked because I didn't mind us saying, hey, let's go read it again. If we need to.
No, I'm good, man.
We
Thank
good?
you.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Do we have a motion and a second? Roll call.
Hurley and Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Next item.
Hold a public hearing, discuss and take any necessary action related to the finding that the structure located at 2018 West Shawnee Royal Inn is dilapidated and has become unsafe and/or unfit for human occupancy due to its dilapidated condition and has been condemned by the City of Muskogee, or take other necessary action.
We've now opened a public hearing. Ms. Sweezy.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Got a slideshow, I think, happening. If I didn't, there we go. With Laura's help here. Thank you, Laura. The council discussed and took action on this property in January. It was declared dilapidated by the Uniform Building Code of Appeals Board last year, and the council took action to grant the appeal and remove the property from demolition from the list. And so we're bringing it back to the council tonight with some updates on the condition. It has become even more dilapidated and risky to the public. So the owner was directed to take out a bond and a remodeling permit, which he has done so. But there's been no progress made on any remodeling or securing the building. So we wanted to bring it back to the council since it was in this 6-month time frame that the council set. We have tried to make contact with the owner's attorney, and the fire marshal has sent violation letters, and the code enforcement team has also made contact and sent out letters notifying the owner of tonight's hearing. We also made publication in the newspaper with the proper timing. This is again the location on Shawnee. It's 2018 West Shawnee, the old Royal Inn. I've got some photos just recently from April. Almost every door is unsecure. The windows are also unsecure on many places. You can tell the structure in the roof is starting to get even worse. We have seen people in and out. The police and fire departments are noticing people coming in and out and trying to take things. The neighboring businesses have also commented there are flammable chemicals on site when we do inspections, graffiti. This is our photo of the notice from May 11th. We would like to ask for direction to board up the property immediately. Those costs will be passed along to the owner. Again, the 6-month time period you all set for remodeling expires in July. So we just want, if the owner's not going to secure it, we want to make it safe right away. Happy to answer any questions, and Katrina may have more comments.
Yes, I just want to point out that January 23rd, the new owner was given 6 months, which will end on July 22nd. During that time, no progress on the building has been made. We're not asking to demolish it today. We're asking that it be condemned, meaning it is unsafe and unfit for human occupancy, that it's a nuisance attraction for children and vagrants, drug addicts, and we want permission to secure the building. And if the building is condemned and we can secure it, we can then, without permission of the owner, enforce the no trespassing on the property, which now we cannot technically do without the owner's permission. So this is simply to secure the building, to keep our citizens safe, to keep our firemen from having to go out, our police having to go out, and with the accelerants that have been found around the hotel, to keep it from being burned down and then putting our firemen at risk. So that, again, we're not asking to demolish the building, just to secure it and condemn it as unfit for human occupancy at this time, so that we can enforce and protect as we're required by ordinance.
We will close the public hearing and take comments from the council at this time. I'm going to say that I think this is an example of good intentions gone bad, where the council might have been in a position to try to extend an opportunity for something good to happen. This is now gone bad. When we circumvent our own processes, our own demolition processes that we have documentation on, to be able to move forward and condemn these dilapidated properties in exchange for someone telling us they're going to do something that they have not done and does not appear to have the intention of doing, I think this is where we end up being. And so now we're going to take resources that could be used someplace else, even though we're going to pass them on to the property owner. Our people, our workers, our employees, and our finances could be put to much better use than to have to address this issue again. And so I understand tonight we're going to do what we can legally to board it up, but I hope that by the time we come back to the first meeting in June, we have an item to move forward with condemnation, to place it back on the list where it should be and tear that piece of junk to the ground. We have a motion.
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yes.
Can we hear from the owner to see what's going on? He did stand here before us and said that he was requesting finances, and it would be good to hear where he's at with it. I've seen the conditions of the building. I'm one of the ones that spoke up, so I would like to hear from him to see where he's at.
I will take a courtesy as the chair to allow the owner 3 minutes. Please give us your name and your address. You'll have 3 minutes.
Kalpesh Patel, 806 Pennsylvania Avenue, Kennedale, Texas, 76060. Thank you, Ms. McGee. Respected Mayor, Council. Yes, I was here. You guys did give me a chance. We are working towards it. Couple of things that have happened on our side. The fund has been secure, so we are actually good to go ahead and get the renovation started. One of my crew has been busy right now at renovating another hotel. As soon as they are done, and if not, we were discussing about the same thing, and I believe John, if I remember the name correctly, I think he's probably here. City hires him to do the board up and whatnot. He was there and he goes, it's the first time some owner is actually telling him that they want to do something for the city to the old dilapidated properties. I'm here to let you guys know that I will carry out and I'll carry through and see through to the renovation of that property, turned into from the junk you just mentioned into a Days Inn, Wyndham Worldwide franchise, which has about 6,000 hotels into their flag. So we'll have a good amount of customers coming. You wouldn't have to waste your money for that. A while ago, Mr. Miller, you were talking about resources and all that. Hopefully, we'll be able to bring actually the tax money and then help the city even more by increasing the revenue from having that hotel. I think the question is, can we get the work started? If needed to, we can go ahead and get that going on. We were actually working on our supply chain to make sure that we have everything in place, called for. By that way, when we start work, we can actually come in and do it quicker than we need to. I live in Dallas. I don't want to be here every week just for something small. So I was trying to actually get everything together in place. And in that way, I'll have storage units and we can get the work done quicker than, sooner than later. That was one of the main reasons actually that has been delayed. We are not able to secure the doors and the windows at this point in time. The supply chain is backed up on that, and that's the reason we are delaying the renovation project right now. As soon as we have that date, we will get started, and needed to, like I said, we can actually have a crew here, and slowly and gradually they can start the work either way. So my request to you guys is, instead voting, let me carry on, and I have already talked to 2 of the chain link supply company, and hopefully I'll try to go ahead and put the chain fence around it sooner than later, and hopefully I'll even have my crew start cleaning up the place as well.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Patel? Thank you, Mr. Patel.
Okay.
I will say to this body, we can't go to Texas and do what they're doing in Oklahoma. That we can't go to Texas and say to them, be junk. But they could come and do it in Muskogee. My motion is to proceed as staff has recommended.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. Roll call.
Pearland Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jared Creed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item passes. Item number 22.
Consider approval of ordinance number 4196A, amending the City of Muskogee Code of Ordinances, Chapter 90, Zoning, Article 8, Residential Districts by amending Section 90-08-04 Residential Districts Design Standards, adding repealer, severability, and setting an effective date, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Sweezy.
Thank you, Mayor. This is just a second reading from our last meeting. We discussed and approved the ordinance and still recommend approval. This brings us into compliance with state law. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Sweezy on item number 22? Do we have a motion to proceed?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call.
Perlin Boyotti Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 23.
Consider approval of a final plat for the Sleepy Traveler Edition brought by Landon and Casey Holman, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Sweezy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to hand off this item to Assistant Director Laura.
Hello, Mayor, council members. This is, oh, wait, can I get it close enough? Okay. All right, there we go. All right. Oop, sorry, they got me a little, a little slow getting that up. All right, let's see. All right, this is a RV park that you've seen before, the Public Works. It's currently in a C2 zoning district. They have, this is going to be a camping style RV park, similar to, we consider similar to a hotel or motel. People are giving it a temporary stay. The Planning Commission has recommended approval, as well as Public Works. Let's see, that's about the major thing. And this is their plat of property. They will, let's see. There's a view, kind of look at the property. This is going to be where they're going to have the separate slots for the RV park. They're not going to be in this area right here, because this area does have, it's a flood zone area. Whoop. Can answer any questions that you may have.
Do we have any questions for the presenter on tonight? And we've heard this presentation before. This is another reading of it.
Yes, sir.
Further comments, or do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Perlin Boyotti Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item passes. Item number 24.
Consider approval of a preliminary plat for the Warrior Edition by Wallace Designs, developed by Cherokee Nation, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Sweezy.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, second reading, and hand it over to Laura for a quick review.
Of course, you've seen this with our Public Works Committee. The Planning Commission has recommended approval of the preliminary plat. This location is on Hancock and Turner. This is where they're going to build. Whoop, ahead of myself. This is Cherokee Nation. They are building a housing addition for their citizens. And they were rezoned, I believe, a month ago to go to residential 1. So they are in compliance with the residential 1 zoning according to all of our regulations and our subdivision regulations. And this is what their plat looks like now. It doesn't have, typically our preliminary does have contours, but they are not on this one because it's hard for you guys to see this with the contours on there. But they did submit the proper plat with the contours. And this is our future land use. You guys know this is recommended to be residential 1, so they are in line with our future land use plan as well. And any questions from the council?
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the council on tonight on item number 24, or what is our pleasure?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 24. Roll call.
Perlin Boyotti Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, as has been previously discussed, 25, 26, and 27 have been stricken. Item number 28.
Consider approval of the appointment of Marcy Thompson to the Historic Preservation Commission, filling the unexpired term of Jordan Brown beginning May 1, 2023, and ending July 31, 2024, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Jones.
Yes, this is one of my applicants for this board, and I do believe should be a great asset. And that is my motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 28. Roll call.
Pearlie Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item passes. Item number 29.
Consider approval for the Muskogee Fire Department to receive 2 donated fire cloak blankets from Morgan Towing, Stephanie Jones and Nick Morgan, to be used for electric vehicle fires, 5 donated Stat Pack medical bags with oxygen modules from Mays Wrecker, Steve Mays, to replace our current and very outdated medical bags used to carry medical supplies, and 5 donated Stat Pack medical bags with oxygen modules from Redbeard Towing, Mac Parks, to replace our current and very outdated medical bags used to carry medical supplies or take other necessary action.
Chief Moore.
Mayor, members of the council, appreciate your time. We're pretty fortunate to live in a city with such great community partners. To be generous enough to donate this equipment to the Muskogee Fire Department, much needed equipment. The 2 cloak blankets from Morgan Towing, owned by Stephanie Jones and Nick Morgan. Obviously, most of you know the ever-changing world we live in with electrical vehicles. Those are very difficult to put out, and these will greatly assist us in doing that. And then the other equipment from Mays Record, owner Steve Mays, and then Redbeard Towing, owned by Mac Parks, excuse me. We have some medical equipment bags that are the old style duffel bags, if you will. These would replace that as a backpack style and give us greater opportunity to carry more equipment in a more efficient way. And we do recommend approval, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Chief Moore, would you like to recognize your guests that are here?
Absolutely. If you guys, Redbeard, Morgan Towing, and Mr. Mays. Yep, there he is. Appreciate you guys.
Let me express my heartfelt thanks to Chief Moore for the work he does, as well as to those in the community who help to make Muskogee great. So thank you very, very much. Do we have a motion?
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second on those donated items. Roll call.
Pearlie Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Abstain.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor, excuse me, Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item passes. Item number 30.
Consider the appointment of Patrick Kale as Ward 1 Counselor to serve until the next regular election in accordance with City Charter 206, filling the vacancy in said council seat created by the resignation of Stephanie Jones as Ward 1 Counselor, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Jones.
Yes, this is my agenda item, and I'm moving on for personal reasons. And we all know Patrick Kale. So I think I took his spot, and so I'm excited for him to take my spot again. Switching.
Is that your motion?
That is my motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 30. Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I do think it would be appropriate to say a few kind words about Stephanie and the service she's done to our community. She served as chair of committees. She served on several committees, Purchasing, Facilities Board, War Memorial Trust, been chair of the Public Works Committee, and she's served these last 4 years in a very gracious way. We're thankful for your leadership and your community service. I know that other council members and mayor may want to say things as well. I know we're going to celebrate with some refreshments here in a minute, but we want to honor you for your service, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
We always want to take the opportunity to recognize those members of the council who serve and who have to move on for various reasons. For those who may not know, all 9 of these positions are 100% volunteer positions. And these people who run for office and then serve do so to the best of their abilities. And many of you may not stay for the reception, But I want to take this opportunity now to express my heartfelt thanks as mayor of the city of Muskogee to Stephanie Jones and ask if she would allow me to pin her with a key to the city.
Oh, okay. Thank you for not stabbing me.
One thing in addition, I did speak with Mr. Kale earlier today. He wanted to make sure that tonight was Stephanie's night, and so he is not in attendance, but he is excited about joining the council. But he wanted to pass on why he's not here because he wants the focus to be on Stephanie tonight.
Thank you.
We have a reception plan. I will entertain a motion to recess for 30 minutes.
Oh, we need to vote on this one
I'm
first.
sorry, I thought we voted.
No.
We have a motion and a second?
Yes.
My apologies. I'm not that eager for cake, but I just got ahead of myself.
I have a motion and a second.
Roll call.
Perlin Boyotti Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item passes. We have one resident signed to speak to us tonight, Mr. Mark Bonney. If you'll come to the microphone and give us your name and your address, you will have 3 minutes.
Because I thought if you give me just a second, I turned my thing off thinking you were going to do the reception
We won't
first.
start your time till you start.
Okay, Mark Bonney, 1216 West Broadway Street. As I spoke about earlier, 3 years on a water lake. I submitted 2 of the notices through the application. Took about a year for each of them to get closed without it getting fixed. I saw Mr. Miller at a meeting. I informed him about my problem. Was about August of last year. I then came to the city about 2 months ago, spoke with his assistant. I did get a call from the water department who said that they would get to it within the next 2 weeks. Nothing has happened. I have to navigate potholes now in front of my driveway because of the leak in the water that has eroded the asphalt in order to get in and out of my driveway. And so I'm asking that this get fixed, and that once it is fixed, that you please do a minor repair. Somebody went and poured asphalt over the hole. So what's leaking is the pipe, the valve down under the ground, carrying the water. It's leaking up through the pipe, and rather than do anything, they put asphalt over the hole, thinking somehow that's going to work. That, to me, is not the right way to do anything. And I have some choice words, but I'll move on. Sale of public utilities. I think that that whole transaction is void. I think that in order to sell a public utility, which this council, not this council, but a council determined that the hospital was a public utility. State law only allows for the sale of a public utility by a municipality pursuant to 3 bids and a vote of the people. And I don't think what this council did was appropriate. I further reviewed all of the minutes, all of the agenda items. There is no way any citizen in this city would have had any clue beforehand what the council was going to do. There was no opportunity for any public comment. There was no opportunity for any citizen to have any input into the transfer of what I believe was $50 million at a conservative estimate. We leased the hospital for 30 years for $120 million. In 20 years, we could have done it for another $60 million. The contract required the current lessee to keep up capital improvements. I've not seen and don't know that it's been made public, the appraisal. If St. Francis paid for the appraisal, I think you know that it was probably about what it was paid for by this, the city didn't pay for it, they didn't get it. Finally, I if I don't get copies of what happened, I will likely be filing a lawsuit against the city for violation of the Open Meetings Act.
Thank you, Mr. Bonnie. No further residents have signed to speak to us tonight. We will now entertain a motion to recess for 30 minutes.
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Hurley and Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, we will now recess for 30 minutes. Those of you who would like to stay for the reception, please do so. We will now reconvene from recess. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Stephanie Jones.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Here.
Hurley and Boyati Craig.
Here.
Item number 31.
Consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. A, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 57, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. B, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge Number 95, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. C, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local Number 2465, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. D, pursuant to Section 307B3 and D, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the possible sale of city-owned property and take any necessary action in open session. E, pursuant to Section 307B1, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the terms of employment and evaluate the performance of City Manager Mike Miller, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go into executive session. Roll call.
Hurley and Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, we will now convene into executive session. Those who are not privy to this session, please excuse yourself from the chamber at this time. Thank you. We will now reconvene from executive session. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Stephanie Jones.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Here.
Hurley Boyati Craig.
Here.
Item A.
Thank you, Mayor. Pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, excuse me, council did convene an executive session to discuss negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 57, and no action was taken.
You keep going.
31B, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, council did convene an executive session to discuss negotiations with the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge Number 95, and no action was taken. Item C, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, council did convene an executive session to discuss negotiations with the American Federation of State, county and municipal employees, local number 2465, and no action was taken. Excuse me. Item D, pursuant to Section 307B3 and D, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, council did convene an executive session to discuss the possible sale of city-owned property, and an appropriate motion would be to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a contract as discussed in executive session.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item D. Roll call.
Pearline Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item D passes. Item E.
Pursuant to Section 307B1, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, council did convene an executive session to discuss the terms of employment and evaluate the performance of city manager Mike Miller, and no action was taken.
Thank you. That meeting is adjourned. We will now call to order the meeting of the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority for May 22nd, 2023. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Here.
Pearline Boyati Craig.
Here.
Thank you. Item number 1.
Consider approval of minutes of special call MRA February 2nd, 2023, regular MRA April 24th, 2023, and special call MRA April 25th, 2023, or take other necessary action.
Hopefully, we've had an opportunity to read the said minutes. Do we have any corrections to those minutes or motion to approve?
Move for approval?
We have a motion and a second on item number 1 for the said minutes. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Pearline Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item number 1 passes. Item number 2.
Consider approval of MRA claims for April 15th, 2023 through May 12th, 2023, or take other necessary action.
Do we have any questions on the claims as presented, or do we have a motion to approve?
Move for approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 2 regarding the claims as mentioned. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Pearline Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item number 2 passes. We are striking items 3, 4, and 5, and then moving to item number 6.
Consider approval of resolution number 2944, adopting the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority budget for fiscal year 2023-2024, establishing budget amendment authority, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the authority, this is the budget that mirrors what was discussed in the city council meeting. The data was presented there. It's also in your packet here. We recommend approval and be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Miller, or what is the pleasure of the body?
Move for approval?
I did have a question, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I still didn't quite understand that zero budget for the MRA. Maybe at a later date, we can go back over that in thorough.
Certainly. So the key is the MRA oversees the Economic Development Fund and the Civic Center Fund. The money is in those funds, but the management falls to the MRA.
I think, to Ms. McGee's point, we're going to need either some kind of training on that aspect or something in writing to help clarify that.
Certainly, and I'll have my smart accountant folks tell you more about it too, because I am not a genius accountant myself either.
Reason why, because when you go back and look at the budgets in times past, it's always been it's been funds there, and to go from funds to zero just don't make I don't understand it yet.
And with the amount of activity that the MRA has, it's kind of hard to explain to our constituents what's going on, all the good things we're doing when we have a zero budget. So, not tonight, or I don't know.
Well, Mr. Miller, you allow him to explain that to us, that maybe at a communication luncheon or something?
Absolutely,
Thank you.
and just to be clear, I think in our, well, I'm sorry, go ahead, you all, I don't need to interrupt, you all go ahead with your business, my apologies.
Any other questions? Are we clear? We have a motion and a second.
I don't have a second.
I'm sorry, we don't have a second. We have a motion and a second now. Roll call.
Hurlian, Boyati, Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
No.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 6 passes. That meeting is adjourned. We will now go to the meeting of the Muskogee Municipal Authority for May 22nd, 2023. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Stephanie Jones.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Here.
Perlin, Boyati, Craig.
Here.
Item number 1.
Consider approval of MMA minutes of May 22nd, 2023, or take other necessary action.
We have the minutes before us in our packets on that minute for that meeting. Do we have any discussion, corrections, or motion to approve?
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. And item number 1, further discussion? Roll call.
You are correct. We have the wrong date on here, on the minutes.
Okay.
It should be April 24th, not May 22nd. Thank you, Katrina. If we could amend our motion to approve those minutes.
So amended. Second.
Thank
We have a
you.
motion and a second to approve as corrected. Further discussion? Roll call.
Perlin, Boyati, Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 1 passes. Item number 2.
Consider approval of MMA claims for all city departments for month ending April 30th, 2023, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Sweezy.
I'll defer to Mike.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, you have before you the MMA claims. We'd be happy to answer any questions, and we do recommend approval.
Any discussion from the body, or what is your pleasure? Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the claims and item number 2. Roll call.
Perlin, Boyati, Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item number 2 passes. Item number 3.
Consider approval of resolution number 2941, adopting the Muskogee Municipal Authority budget for fiscal year 2023-2024, establishing budget amendment authority, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, as I said previously, this is the MMA budget as discussed in the earlier packet. We do recommend approval and be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Miller on that budget, or what's the pleasure of the body?
Yes, Mr. Miller, can you just kind of explain what we're doing here so that I understand the MMA? This is the money that comes in from our, make sure I got it, water and sewer revenue, correct?
That's correct. Our utility revenue.
Okay. So when you get to section 1 there in the resolution, can you kind of go over that? That way it's clear.
Yes, and so I may defer to our accountants as well. But so section 1 talks about the revenue and the appropriations for the Muskogee Municipal Authority, and so this Muskogee Municipal Authority runs our water treatment plant, our sewage treatment plant, our water collection system, our water distribution system, and our sewer collection system, and as well as our solid waste and stormwater. And so as that money comes in, it gets distributed according to the purpose and cause. And so some of these revenues are loan proceeds, as you all have allowed us to take out. We talked earlier about the $17 million in water quality projects that comes through this fund. We also have $28 million worth of sewer projects that are ongoing. That comes through the Muskogee Municipal Authority as well. So that's what you see reflected here.
Okay, so when we see this 40 million in here, and then the 39 million, can you kind of let us know what that number is? I know I hear you talking, but you didn't reference the number. So
Oh, yeah.
is this a projected number that we have with the 40 million?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, all our revenues are based off of projections. We don't know for sure how much water we're going to sell next year. But yes, and we don't know for sure how many solid waste customers we will have next year. And likewise, our expenditures are based off of that. Some of those are fixed. We do know what our loan payments are going to be next year. And some of those are are not fixed. You budgeted, again, when we went through the earlier budget, we said we set aside money for special things that were pointed out in that budget.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion and a second?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Pearline Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, that meeting is adjourned. We will now go to the special call agenda meeting for the Muskogee Parking Authority for May 22nd, 2023. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Stephanie Jones.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Here.
Pearline Boyati Craig.
Here.
Thank you. Item number 1.
Consider approval of Muskogee Parking Authority minutes of June 13th, 2022, or take other necessary action.
We have the minutes before us on tonight. Do we have any corrections, or what's the pleasure of the body?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 1. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Pearline Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 1 passes. Item number 2.
Consider approval of resolution number 2942, adopting the Muskogee Parking Authority budget for fiscal year 2023-2024, establishing budget amendment authority, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, this is the budget for the parking authority. We take in revenue for parking spaces that we lease out, and we set aside money for future capital projects to maintain those parking lots. As you can see, we meet approximately once a year to conduct this activity as we approve the budget from minutes from last year. We do recommend approval and be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions from the body, or what's your pleasure?
Yes, Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Mike, are our parking lots being fully used at this time? Is the VA back? I got a call on the one on East Side Boulevard. I guess that's on Broadway, East Broadway.
Yes. So the one on East Side Broadway is part of this authority, but it operates a little bit differently than some of the others. Our one that's here adjacent to City Hall, individual spots are leased to individual VA employees. We don't have a lease with the VA for that in particular. It's individual employees. The one on Broadway has an honor box where you pull in and you say, I'm parking in slot number 5, and then you go put your money in slot number 5 in the honor box. To my knowledge, there is a lot more activity, definitely at the East Side facility. I don't know how many people are using the parking in the back. I do see the parking along Muskogee is very full recently.
Can you get us some kind of report on that? Maybe tell us in communication luncheon.
Sure.
as to Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further discussion? Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 2. Roll call.
Pearline Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
For the last time, Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, that was our last item, and we are adjourned.